If you are about to rent an apartment, ask the right questions. Or like Rose, you might learn the hard way that some deals come with more than you can bargain for. This is a chilling story of Rose, who unknowingly rented an apartment with ghostly neighbors. Before I continue, please do me a favor by liking and sharing, and also hit the follow button for more content like this. Rose had been stuck in a rut for 3 years since graduating, with no job and no prospects. Her life in Lagos was far from glamorous, sharing a cramped one-room apartment with a friend, Peace, who spent her days glued to her phone, living off her boyfriend's money. Rose, on the other hand, barely scraped by on a meager 15,000 naira teaching salary. Peace, growing increasingly tired of sharing a space, had started dropping hints. Rose, don't you think it's time for you to find your own place? I've been wanting some privacy with my boyfriend. The tension was unbearable, but Rose had no choice. Returning to her parents in Ogun State wasn't an option. They were aging and struggling to make ends meet themselves. One Friday, everything changed. Rose received a call from a tech company she had applied to months ago. They wanted her for a final interview on Monday. The news filled her with hope. She didn't tell Peace, knowing a friend's attitude would only dampen her mood. Monday arrived and Rose aced the interview. Not only was she offered the job, but she was also given a handsome salary, an official car, and an urgent request to find an apartment near the office. As she stepped out of the company's office, a strange woman approached her. "Are you looking for a house agent?" the woman asked, almost as if she had been waiting for her. Rose hesitated, but took the number of the agent. The same day, the agent showed her an apartment just 2 streets away. It was perfect, spacious, luxurious, and well within her budget. Rose wasted no time paying the rent and moved in the next day. The first few weeks in her apartment was uneventful. Rose noticed her two neighbors downstairs, a newly wedded couple who always smiled but rarely spoke, and two bachelors who were polite but oddly reserved. Strangely, they always left the house at night and didn't return until morning the next day. She chalked it up to Lagos nightlife and moved on. One evening, the bachelors invited her over for dinner. The apartment was immaculately clean, but something felt off. They served her a meal that tasted strange, though she couldn't place why. The couple downstairs also joined, their laughter echoing unnaturally in the room. After an hour passed, she thanked them for their generosity and went back to her apartment. That night, as Rose scrolled through her phone at 1 a.m., she heard it, a faint, mournful cry coming from the roof. At first, she thought it was her imagination, but the cry grew louder. Her heart raced as a light bulb in the living room flickered. The crying turned into a wail, loud and piercing, like the voice of a young girl in agony. "Who is there? Who is there?" Rose screamed, her voice trembling. The crying stopped abruptly. Then a cold breeze swept through the room, and the curtains flew violently. Though the windows were shut, the lights flickered again before going out completely, leaving her in darkness. Rose froze as a white mist began to form near the curtains. It moved towards her, taking a shape of a girl, a face pale and sorrowful. "Why are you in my house?" the ghostly figure whispered. Terrified, Rose ran and locked herself in the bathroom. The ghost pounded on the door profusely, but Rose held her back to it, making sure that the room wasn't opened from the other side. Suddenly, the banging stopped, and all Rose could hear was an eerie laughter. "I will spare you," the ghost said, a voice soft but chilling, "because you can help me." Rose listened, paralyzed with fear as the ghost recounted a tragic tale. "I was only a poor granite seller who was trying to make ends meet. My father died when I was just a kid and my mother raised me single-handedly. I was the apple of her eyes and the only child of my mother. She sold granules to be able to cater for us, and when I was back from school, I helped her in hawking. We didn't make much from it, but we were happy and content. One day, I met Chief, the owner of this house, outside the gate. He called me to buy my granules as I hawked. He bought everything on my tray and paid me cash. He told me to come the next day as he loves my granules and would love to buy and keep for his visitors. My mother was happy with me that day. We never sold out our tray on a single hawk. She loaded my tray the next day and urged me to go to sell to Chief first. I went happily to Chief's house, not knowing he had other plans for me. He asked me to come inside the house with him as I wants to be able to select the best granules. The naive 14-year-old me went in with him, and before I could set my tray on the floor, he blew a white powder on my face. I hit the ground unconscious, and when I woke, I met myself laid on a table and a red cloth tied around my waist. My hands and my legs were tied up, and there was a gag on my mouth that prevented me from screaming. Chief had raped me multiple times and was holding a butcher knife and a calabash. He slit my throat and used my body parts for money ritual. He grew rich while my mother wasted away in grief. The ghost paused. I killed Chief in this apartment. Now I hunt along with everyone he wronged. Rose, tears streaming down her face, asked, "What do you want from me?" "Find my mother," the ghost said. "Tell her the truth. Tell her to let go of her pain so I can rest. I will leave you an address." Before Rose could respond, the lights flickered back on and the ghost vanished. The next morning, Rose was shocked to see herself in the bedroom all tucked in. She found a bottle of granules on her table with a note beneath it. It contained an address. Determined to help, she visited the address and found an elderly woman living in an uncompleted building. The woman confirmed she was a ghost's mother and broke down in tears as Rose relayed her daughter's story. But as Rose left the house, passers-by stopped and began to look at her. One of them asked, "Who were you talking to in that house?" "The woman who lives there," Rose replied. Their faces turned pale. "That woman died months ago." Determined to uncover the truth, Rose visited the local chief to ask about the house. Their faces darkened when she mentioned where she lived. "That house is cursed," one chief said. "Chief's wealth came at a terrible price. He sacrificed innocent souls, and their spirits haunt the place. Anyone who lives there will be drawn into their torment." Another chief added, "We've tried to warn people, but the spirits always find way to lure new tenants. Leave while you still can." Rose's blood ran cold. She returned to her house with the chief, but something strange occurred. When she arrived, the compound was unrecognizable. The once luxurious building was now a dilapidated ruin, overgrown with weeds. The gate was padlocked, rusted, shut. The neighbor's car, which she had seen just the day before, was covered in rust, as if abandoned for years. Rose called the agent who rented her the house, but the number was no longer in service. She realized the horrifying truth. The agent, the neighbors, and even the house itself were all parts of the ghost domain. Rose fled that day, leaving everything behind. To this day, she tells a story as a warning. Not all that glitters is gold. Some deals come with a price you can't afford to pay.